Hey, what's up, guys? It's Ryan with Lunchmoney Bet, and today I'm going to be breaking down and giving you guys my best bets on the NFL Week 17. So, starting out here, we have the Dallas Cowboys are playing the New York Giants. The Cowboys must win this game to get into the playoffs. Right now, they're a 1.5-point favorite versus the Giants. I know this is a division rival game, but Andy Dalton and the Cowboys have won their last 3 games in a row, and I look for them to keep that momentum rolling into the playoffs. I love the Cowboys on the spread this week. I'm going to be taking that minus 1.5 all day. Again, the Cowboys need to win to secure their playoff spot, and the Giants have been really ending the season on a bad note. Next, we have the Steelers are playing against the Browns. The Browns are a 9-point favorite this week, so that tells you obviously the Steelers are planning to rest the majority of their starters because they've secured their playoff berth. The Browns are fighting for a good wild card spot, so this is a must-win for them. If you were betting on this game, I would just take the money line on the Browns and parlay that with some other games. But I think that -9 spread is a little bit high because the Browns, they could beat anybody, but they could lose to anybody on any given week. I do like the Browns to win this game, though. So if you're going to bet this game, I would either tease them on a 7-point teaser. If they're -9, 7-point teaser gets them down to a -2, or just take them on the money line and parlay it. Next, we have the Tampa Bay Bucks. They're a 6.5-point favorite versus the Falcons this week. If the Bucks win, it's going to secure the number 5 seed in the NFC, and they're going to have no idea who they're going to play because right now the NFC is all shaken out. This last week for the NFC is huge to determine what the playoff seeding is going to be. So the NFC is going to be a blast to watch this week in the NFL. I do like the Bucks to win money line though. The Falcons, they've been bad all season. They've blown a number of leads. The last time they played the Bucks, they were about like 20, and the Bucks came back and won. The Bucks finally got some momentum, and they're rolling right now. I like Tom Brady and the Bucks to definitely win this game. I'm going to be parlaying the money line on this, but they should cover the spread too. It's a -6.5. I think they should win it by a touchdown, but to be safe, I'd personally parlay the money line. Next, we have the Baltimore Ravens. They're a 12-point favorite playing against the Bengals. The Ravens need to win to secure their wild card spot. They've been on a roll the last 3-4 weeks. The Ravens have been smacking everybody. And I do think this spread is a little bit high, -12. The Bengals are a type of team, I don't think there's any chance that they would win this game, but I definitely think they could cover in this game. Since the Bengals don't really have anything to play for other than to spoil the Ravens' playoff seeding, I would take the Ravens. If they're -12, I'd put them on a 7-point teaser so you can get them down to like -5. If you want to parlay the money line, you can, but there's just not much value there. Personally, I would just stay away from this game. If you want to take the Ravens, I would tease them if anything. I'd be a little bit cautious taking that 12-point favorite. Next, we have the Jags are playing against the Indianapolis Colts this week. The Colts are a huge favorite. This might be the biggest favorite this week. The Colts are a 14-point favorite. Now, the Jaguars beat the Colts the very first game of the season, just to give you guys a heads up. However, the Jags have now secured the number 1 draft spot, and they're going to probably take Trevor Lawrence here. So the Jags may have their backups in just for fun this week. They have absolutely nothing to play for, and the Colts have everything to play for right now. They need to win to get into the playoffs. If they lose, depending on what other teams do in the AFC, the Colts may miss the playoffs, even though they have a pretty good record. So the Colts, this is a must-win game for them. However, that spread is really high at the -14. If you guys are going to bet on this game, I would, again, tease them, 7-point teaser from a -14 down to a -7, and I think that would be a great bet. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers. This is going to be a very interesting game. Are playing against the Chicago Bears. Now, the Bears, they need the Rams to beat the Cardinals to get into the playoffs if they lose to the Packers. If the Bears beat the Packers, they're in the playoffs just fine. But if they lose, they need the Rams to beat the Cardinals this week. So if you're a Bears fan, pay attention to that one. Right now, the Packers are a 5.5-point favorite versus the Bears. Now, if you guys watched a couple weeks ago, the Packers smacked the Bears. They beat them by, I don't even know how much. It was like 14 or 17, but they handily beat the Bears. This week, I do like the Bears to keep it close. If you're gonna bet on this game, I would either take the Packers on the money line or I would tease the Bears perhaps on a 7-point teaser up to like a plus 12.5, plus 13. The only reason that I like the Packers in this game to possibly even cover the spread, but I love the money line the most on this game because the Packers want to get that number 1 seed in the playoffs. If the Packers lose, then they're opening the gate up for teams like the Saints or the Seahawks to possibly take that 1 seed. So the Packers do have something to play for here. I do like the Packers to win money line. However, it is a division rival game. If you're going to bet on the Bears, I would just tease them from plus 5.5 up to plus 12.5, plus 13, depending on where that's at on game day. Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans, our 7.5-point favorite against the Texans. Right now, we don't know if Deshaun Watson's going to play or not for the Texans due to an arm injury. But regardless of if Deshaun Watson was playing or not, I love the Titans' money line in this game, from a betting standpoint. And they're a minus 7.5. If you could buy a half point and get the Titans at a minus 7, they should easily win by touchdown. I would not be surprised if the Titans win by like 17. Especially coming off that disappointing loss to the Packers last week. This is a pride game for the Titans. Not only do they want to secure the number 1 spot in their division after this game, but they also want to prove to the world that their defense is not as bad as what they looked like last week against Green Bay. Last week against Green Bay, they beat the Titans by 20-some points. They easily smacked the Titans. And I truly believe the Titans are a better team than that, so I think they're going to take that anger out and smack up the Texans this week. I would not be surprised if the Titans win by 14 plus, but to be safe, I'd either buy a half point and take the Titans at a minus 7 or parlay that money line all day. Love the Titans on the money line. That's a lock. Next up, we have the Saints, who are fighting for a number 1 seed in the NFC, are playing against the Panthers, the Panthers are, I would say they're one of the better teams in the league for how bad their record is. I don't think they're one of the best teams in the league, but they're a lot better than what their record shows. The Panthers right now are a plus 6.5, which means, Saints are a minus 6.5. I love the Saints on the money line in this game. The Saints should win this, especially if they're trying to get that number 1 seed in the NFC. However, they are already in the playoffs no matter what. If they get the 2 or 3 seed, it's not going to matter either way, really, because everything's up in the air below that for the NFC. So if you're going to bet on this game, I would take either the Saints on the money line or I would tease the Panthers from the plus 6.5 to, a plus 13.5. I think that this game will be somewhere in between that range. Next up, we have another team who's fighting for the 1 seed. So just to remind you guys, there's 3 teams that are fighting for the 1 seed in the NFC right now. It's the Seahawks, the Packers, and the Saints. The Seahawks are playing against the 49ers. Right now, they're a 6.5-point favorite. If the Packers were to lose and the Saints were to lose, then the Seahawks could sneak that number 1 seed. That would be crazy. I personally think that the Seahawks should win this game on the money line. However, this is one of those games that I feel like a lot of public money is going to be coming in on the Seahawks on the spread. So I would I would just take the Seahawks money line. I wouldn't even tease the 49ers, even though it's a division rival and the Niners might be playing, for their pride, even though they're completely out of the playoffs. I would take the Seattle Seahawks on the money line. I think that's a pretty good play betting-wise. Next, we have the Washington football team is playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are a 1-point favorite. Washington's a 1-point favorite, and the Eagles are a +1. Right now, Washington needs to win to get in the playoffs. If Washington loses and the Cowboys win, then the Cowboys are definitely in the playoffs. The Eagles right now are completely out of the playoffs. They really have nothing to play for except their pride. Now, Doug Peterson he's fighting for his coaching job as the head coach of the Eagles. And also Jalen Hurts wants to let the world know that, he's QB1 for the Eagles going into next season. So right now, of all the teams that aren't playing for anything, the Eagles are going to love playing their hardest and trying to spoil the parade and knock Washington completely out of the playoffs. So personally, if there's an underdog this week to take, I love taking the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Washington football team. Washington is just not the same when Alex Smith went out. So personally, I really like the Eagles to win this game, and I also like the Cowboys to win that game versus the Giants to get into the playoffs. And the last game that I'm going to be going over today and this is a completely meaningless game. I just have to put it on here because betting-wise, I do like this bet regardless because this is a pride game as well. The Raiders are a 2-point favorite against the Broncos. Now, let me just tell you first and foremost, both teams, the Raiders and the Broncos, have no playoff chances whatsoever. They have been eliminated. However, the Raiders have dropped 3 games in a row. 2 of them were absolute heartbreakers. This is a game where John Gruden, they are playing for their pride. They're 7-7. They want to end the year, 8-7 on a good note. The Broncos, they've just been a mess this season with the COVID and everything that's gone on, the injuries. The Broncos have been a mess. They haven't even had their best player in Von Miller the whole year. So I think the Broncos are just looking to get into next season and start fresh. The Raiders, however, with the same mindset, except they don't want to go out like this. I guarantee you, they cannot go out losing 4 in a row. Betting-wise, I do like the Raiders a lot on the money line. I just think that this is an absolute pride game for them, unlike the Broncos. So those are my best bets this week. Just to recap here, I like the Cowboys on the spread, -1.5. I like the Browns money line, but I'd personally stay away from that game. I like the Bucks money line. I like the Ravens -12 tees down 7 points to a -5. The Colts game I'd stay away from. That spread is just enormous. I wouldn't touch that game. If you're betting the Packers-Bears game, I'd either tease the Bears up 7 points from the +5.5 to +12.5, +13, or take the Packers money line. My best bet on that game would be Packers money line. Titans money line is an absolute lock. I do like the spread. If you can buy a 0.5 point, get the Titans at just a -7 as a touchdown favorite. They should clear that and win by more than that. But to be safe, love the money line, like the spread. The Saints are fighting for the number 1 seed versus the Panthers. I would either take the Saints money line, which would be the best bet in that game, or you could tease the Panthers if you want to take a gamble with the Panthers. But I don't see the Saints winning by more than 13 points. They may even rest Kamara, like I said. Seahawks at the Niners. If any game's a trap game, this possibly could be one, but I do trust Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll going into the playoffs. They should secure the bag in this game and at least win on the money line. And then, like I said, the last 2 games, Eagles are playing for their pride. Not as important of a game, but they would love to knock off Washington. I do like the Eagles as an underdog. And then completely meaningless game with the Raiders and Broncos. I'm taking the Raiders because Gruden cannot go out like that. So that was my best bets and predictions on the NFL this week. If you guys want college basketball, NBA predictions, any other sport, UFC, hit us up on Instagram at LunchmoneyBet. We also have merch on there. We have t-shirts, hoodies, masks, everything on there. Thank you guys, and have a great day. Good luck this week, and run it up.